I'm Brittany Hall. I'm an attorney at Cape Fear Family Law. I'm going to talk to you today about a concept of forcing your child to visit with the other parent. So I get it, right? I'm a mom. Forcing your child to do anything, brush their teeth, eat their vegetables, go to bed, it can be really, really hard. Much less forcing your child to go and spend time with a parent that for whatever reason they may not want to spend time with or they may not feel comfortable there. So it's hard. Unfortunately, there are times when we have to force children to visit with the other parent. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I get a lot of questions about why can't my child choose where they want to live or choose who they want to visit with, choose their visitation schedule. And unfortunately, the answer is usually no, a child can't choose that until they're 18 years old. That's when they're no longer a child. Until that time, the court has jurisdiction over them. So sometimes the judge might listen to what the child has to say or take their opinion into consideration, but they don't have to. They don't always have to hear from them, and they don't always have to take their opinion into consideration. So when do we have to force a child to visit? I'm going to talk to you about when you need to do that, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. So the first situation when you would force your child to visit with the other parent is if you have a court order that says you have to, because we can't be held in contempt, right? We follow court orders. So if the court order says child visits every other weekend, child goes every other weekend. And that only changes if you have, number one, filed a motion to modify custody with the court, and number two, get a new court order that says the child doesn't have to visit or that there's a different schedule the child can follow. So those two things have to happen. Another situation where your child might not have to visit is if you get an emergency custody order. If they are in danger and the court believes they are in danger enough to give you an ex parte emergency custody order, then your child would not have to visit. The only other time I can think of when you have a court order that says they have to visit and you wouldn't have to force them would be if DSS was investigating an abuse or neglect and told you don't let your child visit unsupervised or whatever the case may be. But in that situation, you would then need to call an attorney and run, not walk, to the courthouse and get an emergency custody order based on what DSS had said. Now, what if you don't have a court order that says your child has to visit? Do you still have to force your child to visit? Well, the answer is maybe. If the visitation would be safe and appropriate for the child, then you probably do need to force your child to visit for several reasons. One, because if it's safe to do so, generally it's good for children to have a relationship with both parents. The other reason is because we always tell clients to do things based on what the outcome might be in court and what a court might think about their decisions. So when you're making these decisions, think about if you were in the hot seat having to answer questions to a judge about why you denied visitation. You better have a really, really good reason. And what you might think is a good reason, the court might not think is a good reason. So if you don't have a court order and you're thinking about denying visitation and you don't know whether you should force your child to go, you need to come talk to an attorney and get some legal advice about that, because we deal with these situations every day. Now I'm going to talk to you about how to force your child to visit. Again, it can be really hard to force a child to do anything, especially when they get to be teenagers, right? You can't pick them up and drag them kicking and screaming anymore to do what you want them to do and strap them in the car seat and drive down the road when they're 14, 15 years old. So how do we get them to visit if they don't want to go? Well, the first way to do that is let's try to figure out why they don't want to visit. And that's normally done through counseling. So get a counselor that the children can feel safe talking to and that they can trust, and try to work on what's the reason why they don't want to visit and can we fix that? Or can we give them some coping mechanisms when they are visiting to help them to have a good time? So that's the first thing you need to do. It might be appropriate to give consequences to the child when they don't visit. So if they refuse to go and you can't physically force them to do that, then there may need to be consequences, and that might need to be something that you come up with the other child's parent and with the counselor. There also can be positive reinforcement as well. So, hey, when you get back from visiting with your mom or your dad, we're gonna go have ice cream, or we're gonna go see a movie, we're gonna do something fun together. That sort of positive reinforcement to give them something to look forward to when they come back to you can really help them to feel comfortable going. And another thing is to encourage them to go. Help them be excited. You're gonna have so much fun at your mom or your dad's house. You're gonna play games. He loves you so much. She's gonna do all these fun things with you. It's gonna be a great time. Encourage that. Instead of saying things like, I'm so sorry you have to go visit. So just little things like that can really make a huge difference. The other thing to remember is that it's very unlikely for the court to give 0 visitation to the other parent. Even if there are safety concerns or a prior history of bad parenting, bad decision making, even if there is drug addiction and just really bad facts like that, the court can put things in place to help make the child safe, like supervision, drug tests, things like that. The reason that courts are very unlikely to give no visitation to a parent is because parents have a constitutional right to parent their children, and that right is considered paramount by our courts. So it can be unconstitutional for courts to limit visitation or to say there's no visitation. So keep that in mind, that your child is probably going to have to visit on some level, some way or another, if you end up in court. So forcing them to visit in a healthy way now might be better for your child and for you than having a court force them to do it later. Thanks for listening today. I hope this was helpful. Remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and post any questions in the comments.